All right, good to go. Good morning, everybody. The time is 10:02. I call the June 1st, 2023 Planning Board meeting to order. We are joined by Vice Chair Bailey, Commissioner Washington, Commissioner Giraldo, and myself, Chair Shapiro. The deadline for all participant pre-registration and for all submissions of materials and exhibits was 12 noon on the Tuesday before this Planning Board meeting. Registered speakers may join the meeting with a link provided in the email provided by the Planning Board office, or you may listen by phone by utilizing the call-in number provided in the email. And of course, anyone may tune in to watch the Planning Board meeting via live stream. And if you wish to speak or become a person of record, you may use our online web form, which you'll see referenced on the screen. In addition to our commissioners, we are joined by Delisa Coleman, our senior counsel. We have Joe Parsons, our senior technical hearing writer. Who else do we have? James Hunt, our division chief, development review division, and we have staff members Kenneth Flanagan and Ryan Crowder helping us with technology behind the scenes. Good to see everybody. We'll move on to a very brief agenda today. Our first item is item 2 on our agenda. I would look for a motion to approve the draft minutes of May 25, 2023.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Got a motion by Vice Chair Bailey, second by Commissioner Washington. Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
You're muted.
You're on mute.
But he did say aye.
I did say thank you. See,
You did say aye.
you're in my
I say aye. I say aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Next, our consent agenda. We have a few items on the consent agenda. Is there anyone who wishes to oppose the staff's recommendation? Any board member or anyone from the public who wishes to discuss any of these items? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve items on the consent agenda in accordance with the recommendation of staff.
Second.
Motion by Vice Chair Bailey, second by Commissioner Washington. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, I'll call the roll. Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Washington.
I vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. And then we have one item on our regular agenda. This is item 5, conceptual site plan CSP 21001 Linda Lane property. We have Mr. Tedesco, who is representing the applicant. We have Ms. Lockhart, who will be giving the staff presentation. This is an evidentiary hearing. So just in case, I'm going to ask anyone who is intending to speak to provide testimony to take an oath. So at this time, anyone who may be speaking, if you could come online and raise your right hand. Do we have anyone, Mr. Tedesco?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
We have two individuals sign up, Mike Lenhart and Mira Ganser from Bowler, but I don't see them in the list currently. I don't anticipate they'll need to speak. So I think if they do join, if I do need them, maybe we can swear them in at that point because I don't see them currently on the list.
That's fine. So we'll swear them in if they come forward, and I will leave it at that. So let's turn it over to staff. Ms. Lockhart, you have a presentation?
Yes, doing a sound check. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you fine.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Planning Board. For the record, I am Dominique Lockhart with the zoning section. Item number 5 on the agenda is conceptual site plan CSP 21001 titled Linda Lane property, which proposes a mixed-use development consisting of 105 multifamily units and 104,600 square feet of commercial and retail space. The mixed-use building will be 5 stories high with both internal and external parking provided. The commercial and retail spaces will be located on the 1st and 2nd floors of the building. The multifamily dwelling units will be located on the 3rd through 5th floors. As a matter of housekeeping, a technical correction is needed on page 4 of the staff report. Within the development data summary table, the existing non-residential gross floor area should be 34,568 square feet, and the residential gross floor area should be 2,539 square feet. So those numbers should be switched. In addition, staff received an email of opposition from Valerie Love dated May 30th, 2023. Her areas of concern included increased traffic congestion at the Linda Lane, Old Branch Avenue, and Allentown Road exits. There was also a concern noted with the placement of the surface parking in relation to the adjacent single-family homes. Traffic adequacy will be further evaluated at the time of preliminary plan of subdivision. And regarding the parking placement, staff has provided the applicant with recommendations to locate the parking further away from the single-family homes to the south. The building placement and parking layout will be further evaluated with the preliminary plan and detailed site plan applications. Based on the findings presented in the technical staff report, staff recommends that the planning board approve conceptual site plan CSP-21001, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report. And this concludes staff's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lockhart. Commissioners, questions for staff? No questions. We'll turn to the applicant, Mr. Tedesco. Anything you want to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the planning board. For the record, Matthew Tedesco with the law firm of McNamee Hosey. On behalf of the applicant and owner, the applicant is Curtis Investment Group Incorporated. The owners are affiliates or subsidiaries of the applicant, Curtis Properties, Inc., as well as Solomon's Island Road, LLC. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this is a fairly straightforward case, and if you would just allow me a little bit of indulgence, I do want to go through a couple of points. We did have a community meeting with the Camp Springs community, and there was some confusion with respect to the actual proposal of redevelopment for this property. So if you would just bear with me and allow me to create the record, just because I think it's important, maybe as this case moves forward in the process, not to presume approval here today, but obviously we support the staff's recommendation. We have no revisions or modifications to any findings or conditions. And we would obviously respectfully hope and request that the planning board adopt those findings and conditions. But in preserving and creating the record, if you would just allow me a moment to just go through a couple of points, I would be appreciative.
The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I know it's a short agenda, and I don't want to belabor the point, but a couple of these points I do want to make for the record. As I outlined in your staff report, this property has a long history with respect to a mix of uses that have consisted on the property for many, many decades. In 1970, a special exception was approved for an automobile parking lot. In March of 1987, a preliminary plan was approved for two parcels, which are parcels B and C, those parcels on your screen are the larger parcel, kind of at the intersection of Linda Lane and Route 5, where the large commercial building is located in the parking field. That's parcel B. Parcel C is a single family home kind of to the left lower corner of the property, where the cursor is right there. Those properties were subdivided for a mix of uses being commercial and residential. Parcel 25, which is in the upper left corner of the property, has not previously been the subject of a preliminary plan, but consists of a residential use. Almost 5 years ago in a month to the day, the district council approved a rezoning application for this property from the CSC and R80 zone to the MXT zone. For the last 45 years or so, the property has consisted of uses with various commercial, retail, office, as well as residential uses. So it's been a mixed use property for many, many decades. Since that time, the property has and continues to be the home of the Curtis Investment Group, which is a local Prince George's County real estate company, the president of which, Mr. George Curtis, is a longtime resident of Prince George's County, lives in Brandywine, has lived in Brandywine his entire life, and I hope he's not mad at me, but in his mid-80s at this point, goes to work every single day to that office building that they purchased a few decades ago, and that is their headquarters. Given the property's proximity to the interchange of the Capitol Beltway and Maryland 5, as well as the interchange of Maryland 5 and Allentown Road, not to mention the long history of a mix of uses on the property was rezoned by the district council 5 years ago to the MXT zone. The very nature of the MXT zone is to allow flexibility and a mix of uses on properties within the vicinity of major intersections and interchanges. Given the time period of 5 years that have elapsed since the property is rezoned, and given the nature of the existing development being the owner and applicant's main office headquarters, the ultimate redevelopment of this property today is prospective. However, given the circumstances created by the countywide map amendment and the new zoning ordinance, the applicant finds itself in a unique transitional period that requires the filing of this conceptual site plan in order to maintain the flexibility of the MXT zone. Thus, this CSP is merely the vehicle in which the law allows the applicant to pursue in order to ensure and maintain the flexibility of the MXT zone that the district council imposed 5 years ago. That said, and as outlined in your staff report, the CSP under the prior zoning ordinance requires that the maximum number and type of dwelling units be provided. Therefore, this CSP from that perspective only proposes a mix of uses and density that maximizes the FAR allowed in the MXT zone. If a future redevelopment plan differs from this range, it is possible that an amendment to this CSP will be required. The CSP simply complies with the law and conceptually provides a permissible range of uses and density allowed by the applicable provisions of the prior zoning ordinance. When market conditions warrant and actual redevelopment is right, the applicant will be required to file a preliminary plan of subdivision based upon that development scheme that will be required to be consistent with this CSP unless modified or amended. At that time, the property will be reevaluated for adequacy, and ultimately a detailed site plan will be required prior to the issuance of any permits. Notwithstanding, and again, the CSP is necessary to ensure the rights extended to all property owners in the prior MXT zone are preserved to allow flexibility going forward under the transitional provisions of the new code. In response to Ms. Love's email that staff provided me a copy of when it was submitted, which I appreciate, I would agree with Ms. Lockhart's responses here today, as well as staff's written recommendations on pages 13 and 16 of your staff report in reference to section 27-546D9, which very clearly outlines the fact that in the MXT zone, pursuant to a ZMA, the required traffic analysis was done at that time, and it will be reevaluated for adequacy at the time of preliminary plan. So while we understand there may be a concern, that concern is not really right for this application here today, notwithstanding the traffic study that was done 5 years ago with the zoning map amendment case, a new traffic impact analysis based upon actual development proposed under the preliminary plan will be conducted at that time at a future date. With that, Mr. Chairman, thank you for the allowance to kind of go through that. We wanted to make sure the record was clear that this is a prospective application really to preserve flexibility of the MXT zone, given the transitional nature that we find ourselves in with the new zoning ordinance and the countywide map amendment. So with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, thank you for your time and consideration. We adopt and agree with staff's recommendations, and we have no requested modifications to conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Thank you for providing a fuller record. Commissioners, any questions for the applicant, for Mr. Tedesco? No questions. We have no one signed up to speak. So though there was an evidentiary hearing, we have nobody speaking, but I will close the hearing. And if there is no deliberation on this matter, then commissioners, what is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the findings of staff to include the technical corrections as read into the record by Ms. Lockhart and approve CSP-21001 along with the conditions as outlined in staff's report.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Washington, a second by Vice Chair Bailey. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing no discussion, I will call the roll. Commissioner Washington.
Vote aye.
Vice Chair Bailey.
Vote aye.
Commissioner Giraldo.
I vote aye.
I vote aye as well. The ayes have it 4-0. Thank you, Mr. Tedesco. Thank you, Ms. Lockhart.
Thank you.
Mr. Hunt, is there any further business to come before the planning board today?
The smile on Commissioner Washington's face. There are no additional items before the planning board today.
It shouldn't be so obvious, right, Mr. Hunt?
And And I was feeling very sad.
Oh. So,
I doubt
with
that. I doubt that, Vice Chair.
Without
I saw
objection,
you.
we have
I
spent
saw that
50
smile from ear to ear.
minutes of our time. And with no objection, this meeting is adjourned, and I want to thank everybody for the time.
No
Have a great
objection.
rest
Thank you,
of the
everybody.
day, all.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Enjoy the sunshine today.